Hi, welcome to the 14-day weather forecast. The meteorological summer started on the 1st of June, but so far this month it has felt more like a continuation of spring, and temperatures reflect that, at least the Central England series does. Up to the 6th, the provisional value is 1.4 Celsius below the 30-year norm. All the other months so far have had a positive anomaly this year. Therefore, if the trend continues through the next few weeks, June could be the first cooler than average month when measured by Central England temperature in 2022. That would be quite unusual because in the last few decades there has been a very clear warming trend in the summer months in the UK. If we go back to 1978, the highest temperature recorded was 28 points Celsius. And in fact, there were several years when 30 Celsius wasn't reached. You can see there 1980, 81, 93 was the last time it happened. I've shaded those years in blue. Conversely, 35 Celsius has been occurring more frequently. 1990, the first time that it was recorded in this series. Then 95, 2003, that was a cracking summer, very settled, very warm. 2006, another hot summer. Then in recent years, 2015, 16, 18, 19 and 20 all reached that 35 Celsius. I've shaded it in red to highlight those years. In fact, 2017 only just fell short, 34.5 being the top value. The exception, interestingly enough, was last year, 2021, when the maximum was only 32.2 Celsius. When I say only, that is quite low by recent standards. Whether or not it's setting a trend for the next few years, who knows? I certainly wouldn't like to say. Anyway, that brief look at the history is all I'm going to say for now, and it's time to see what the next week or two may have in store for the UK. So I'll begin with this animation. It runs from 18 GMT, Wednesday the 8th of June. It's a showery Atlantic flow pushing right across the UK. Areas of low pressure are keeping that changeable theme in place. It's also quite cool with that westerly flow. In the short term, not a great deal changes. We see further outbreaks of rain or showers pushing eastwards. But then into the weekend, there are signs of high pressure from the Azores perhaps having a little bit more influence as it nudges northeastwards, at least in southern and central Britain. So it does look as though it will be quite dry on a number of days, with rain and showers increasingly restricted to the north and particularly the northwest. Also notice that the isobars are quite closely packed together. That's suggesting that the winds are going to be quite strong, particularly for the time of the year. As we go through the weekend, the same general theme continues and it stays in place early next week. The Azores high pressure at times, bringing drier and more settled weather into southern and central regions in particular. But even there could be some showery rain at times as the Atlantic maintains its influence. Cooler though and wetter generally in the north and northwest. Taking a quick look at the air mass temperatures associated with that computer model run. Mostly green over the UK to begin with, and this runs quite quickly, but you'll see at times the yellows and oranges move up across southern parts of the country. Generally in the north and the northwest, it's remaining under these greens. The yellows and oranges being warmer upper level air. Although, even though it does briefly push up into southern and central regions, it's tending to be bottled over southern Europe at the moment. The 2-meter temperatures, which correspond to what we can expect down at the ground level, Friday the 10th of June, 22, 23 perhaps in central and eastern England, quite warm there in eastern Scotland, relatively speaking, cooler in the northwest. That could turn out to be one of the warmer days during the first week because by Saturday, temperatures dipping there in the northwest, still 23 being shown in the London area. Overnight lows are worth mentioning as well, because Sunday morning here, it's 8s, 9s, even in southern and central regions, quite comfortable for sleeping still, because we are at the time of the year now when the nights can become very warm. That has also been a trend in recent years. Sometimes we're getting what are termed tropical nights. But these values are comfortable, certainly, to sleep through. Whether or not that remains the case through the rest of June, July and August is another question, of course. Looking at Monday the 13th of June, maximums 19s, 20s, 21s in the southeast, cooler there in the northwest. Close to the average, a little bit below it, especially there in the northwest of the UK. One other point worth mentioning here is the wind strength. I noted that on the animation. The MOGREP's wind gust forecast for London is showing a lot of runs going for around 30 miles an hour on many days through that first week. Not very, very windy, of course, compared to what we experience in the winter months, but it's certainly taking the edge off the temperatures if you're sitting outside or working in the garden. Up to Glasgow, similar story. Winds are stronger on some days, up to 40 miles an hour. That very much being due to the Atlantic flow remaining dominant. Rainfall. Days 0 to 5. On the left, the ECM. On the right, the GFS. The pattern is clearly for it to be wettest in the northwest, consistent on both of these charts. Moving forwards to days 0 to 10, it's the same story. In fact, the GFS really looks quite dry in southern and central parts of Britain. Totals in single digits there throughout the period. Do the deterministic models agree on the idea of a north to south split at the end of the first week? Here's the GFS, which the animation was based on, 00 GMT, Wednesday the 15th. High pressure close to the Azores, low pressure near to Iceland. Changeable over the UK. With this type of setup, showers or long spells of rain would be more frequent in the north, northwest, drier and warmer periods in the south. And the Canadian model has something very similar. Icon also, perhaps low pressure exerting its influence further southeastwards. That's the case with the European ECM. Outbreaks of rain could well be making their way down from the northwest, showery conditions falling on behind. Low pressure looking close to the UK. Finally, the UK Met Office Global, a similar story, high pressure to the southwest, low pressure there to the west of Iceland, the Atlantic driving things. Warmer and drier periods, more common in the south, is what all of these model runs are showing. But it's not a settled scenario by any means, quite changeable, very typical for June. With that mixed end to the first week, what does the ensemble data suggest about week 2? Trends and probabilities, remember, not specifics. The GEFS plot for London, air mass temperatures across the top, generally above the average. The purple line here is the mean from the ensemble, the thick black line, the 30-year norm. It's the purple line staying above it throughout the period. Also worth noting that there are a few runs which, at least for a short time, are bringing in very warm air, maybe indicating thundery plumes moving out of continental Europe and just glancing the UK before the Atlantic returns. Rainfall spikes along the bottom here offer some support for that scenario because there are a few big ones showing up, a number of smaller ones too. Not completely dry in the south. On balance, rainfall amounts below the average, But the caveat there, of course, is that if a thundery downpour comes along, it can deliver huge amounts of rain in a very short time. And those thundery downpours can be very localized too. Up to Glasgow, air mass temperatures closer to the average through the period. There are some warm runs showing up there. Not as hot, of course, as the ones in the south, but the potential for some upper level warmth. More rain spikes than on the London plot, a wetter picture, an ongoing risk of rain. 2 metre temperature data table for London, definitely worth looking at because at this time of year, air mass temperatures aloft don't always give a good guide to what we can expect down at the surface. We can have a lot of warmth at 1500 metres, but if it's cloudy and it's raining, down at the ground level it stays cool. Well, here the dominant colour is this shade of orange. So when I say dominant, it means most of the individual runs in the ensemble are forecasting it at a given time, and it means 21 to 25 Celsius maximums. Reds are showing up as well, reaching 26% or so. Runs which are going for between 26 and 30 Celsius, very warm or getting towards being hot. And a little bit of pink there, greater than 30 Celsius. That 3% means one run, 6% further on means two runs are going for it at that time. On the whole though, temperatures probably a little bit above the average at the 2 metre level in the south. Comparing that to Glasgow, here the yellows and lighter oranges are making up the majority in all of the columns, 11 to 15 and 16 to 20, significantly cooler than in the south and perhaps a little bit below the norm as well. Definitely a split from the northwest to the south to southeast. The GEFS mean pressure plot for Saturday the 18th of June has high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north. High pressure probably having a reasonable amount of influence in the south at this point if the mean is to be trusted. Could well be some warm air pushing up at times, as I've been suggesting. The ECM mean pressure plot at the same time, similar, though perhaps a little bit cooler, more of a west and northwesterly tilt, warmer upper level air, bottled a little bit further south, at least based on the average of the ensemble. All in all, that south to north split is being emphasised by most, if not all, of the data through week 2. Finally, the pressure anomaly chart. Again, not much to say about this. It's a weak anomaly. It's been over the UK. That has been the case on a number of these updates recently. Maybe lower pressure over Scandinavia, higher pressure to the west and to the south. But these anomalies are all very weak, apart from perhaps the one out to our west. Typical pattern being suggested if this is correct. Nothing too notable. So to summarise, week 1, it's changeable, wettest in the northwest, but often dry in the south. It will be quite windy for the time of the year, and temperatures generally close to the average, warmer in the south, cooler in the north. Week 2, mixed. Wet spells remain more frequent in the north, especially the northwest. Temperatures taken across the UK as a whole, probably slightly above the average, but it will be cooler in the north and the northwest. There is a chance of very warm or hot thundery plumes briefly moving up from the south, but perhaps around 20 to 30% at the tops, according to the data. So there we have it. Changeable, often typical weather for June. Drier and warmer conditions more likely in the south, wetter and cooler ones in the north. Something for everyone, perhaps. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Thanks for watching now. Bye.